turns out I could have almost just used the computer because with a small group you could have huddled around the computer. But anyway.
No one would have sat in the back row then.
No, they wouldn't be able to sit down around the back row. But anyway, my Nutrimetics journey. So it's lovely to be here tonight, and it is amazing that I've been around for so very, very long. I've been within Nutrimetics for 46 years, which is more than a lifetime for most of you. But what I want to do tonight, I just want to tell you a little bit about my journey, and then I want to give you a few little tips about how my journey could compare with yours for whatever your challenges are, because I think we all have challenges, but we don't necessarily, we often can't overcome them. So, I think I did overcome quite a few. I was very shy in the beginning because at the time, who would have thought that someone like me at the time, a woman with 4 children, a solo, and living in her mother's 2-bedroom, rather small house, because there were no DPB benefits in those days. So of course you couldn't go out and get yourself a living allowance from the government so that you could have a house for the children. So dear mum took us and the old dog in, and there we were, with her in her 2-bedroom house, and she was quite remarkable. And I was just very lucky to have her, but it was difficult because a 2-bedroom house with 4 children and me sleeping with my mum in her room, for all of us, it was quite a difficult time. And then to go from that to what's happened to me through Nutrimetics, which is dipping my toes into travel, having a beautiful car to drive, having masses and masses of overseas trips, meeting a fabulous man, gaining confidence, not only in myself, but giving the children confidence, sitting around the table discussing the goals, which of course Nutrimetics teaches you. And in those days, not many people did that, I don't believe. So, I've been very, very fortunate. So anyway, I must start at the very beginning, because the way it all started for me was I was working as a Girl Friday in a factory, and I was coming home from work one Friday night, and I saw this gorgeous woman who I knew, Barbara Shannon, very beautiful. She had gorgeous nails. She always looked divine. Beautiful hair. Her hair was all sort of shiny, and I used to wash mine in sunlight soap in those days. That was kind of what we did. And then and I had this little factory uniform on, and she was all glamorously dressed. And what do you do when you see someone like that and you know them? What would you do?
Trust them.
Ask them. Would you? I tried to get away. I actually didn't want to see her because I felt inferior, and so I felt, but Barbara being, so I kind of pretended I wasn't seeing her, but Barbara being Barbara came up to me and started chatting, and then she started telling me about this amazing business she'd actually just entered, and she'd sold $800 in her first month. Well, we're talking 1972, so that was a lot of money. And my first thought was, oh, are you sure? But you know a lot of people who are really rich, and I really don't know anybody who would, buy anything. I can't even afford to buy a lipstick. Well, I could, but that was all. Couldn't buy any beautiful skincare or anything. So that was my thought. And then she said something to me which I kind of never forgot. And what she said was, Maureen, you should look at this business. I'd love you to be part of my team. Well, I was actually gobsmacked because, how could she say that? I didn't have any makeup on. I was a little bit shy and retiring. And I think when she sponsored me, she really didn't think that I had that much in me anyway, if I like to be perfectly honest. I think she probably thought she was doing me a bit of a favour to help me to become a little bit more confident. What she didn't know was that I kind of started this dream. But in fact, she said to me, I'd love you to come to something we're having in January, and it's at the St George Hotel, and it was close to Christmas, and I said, oh yes, I'll come, thinking she'll never ring me, so I was sort of getting her off my case. Anyway, we used to do this amazing trip to the beach like an hour away in my old Morris Oxford, and it was a real journey, and half the time the car would break down and I'd have to feed the radiator with water and stuff like that. Anyway, we got to Otaki, and the whole time I was there, I was thinking about this. And I thought, I bet she'll never call me, but I was thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to get something and get out of this poverty trap and, you know, still look after the kids and all of those things. So when I came back, sure enough, she did ring me and invited. We were having this glam event, you know, glam, what am I going to wear? And I was making all my own clothes, but I'd made a maxi dress and I thought, that'll do. So along I went to the St George Hotel, and of course it was a glamorous event. In those days people really, really dressed up when they went out. And a beautiful woman came to the door and with a smile and encouraged me in, but I said, oh no, I'm waiting for Barbara, because there wasn't any way I was going to go in there without her. Anyway, she went and got Barbara and brought her out, and that evening was a bit of a dream because it was a car presentation, and the lady and the man who got it, although my age, but at the time, because I was only young, they got this beautiful car, and I thought, how could anyone get a car from selling lipsticks? You know, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I thought, I'll bet they have to give this back at the end of the night. It's probably just one of those promotional things.
Cynical, yes.
But anyway, well, I was a bit cynical because I couldn't believe that you could do something like selling a few, well, I thought lipsticks was all you would ever sell. And so anyway, there was Imelda Roche, who was not the founder of Nutrimetics, but you would have heard of her maybe. And she came into the business, and she had really started it in Australasia, an amazing woman. And she was there, and she was one of the chief presenters that night. And she said something which, again, resonated with me. And what it was a prediction. And what she said was, some of you will have come along tonight and you will have enjoyed the presentation, but you will just go home and you'll kind of forget about it. But for some of you, you'll go home tonight and you won't be able to sleep. And for you, that could be the beginning of an amazing career. Well, I don't know quite what I put up there, but that was kind of what she said. And sure enough, I went home and I'm lying in bed and I'm looking at the ceiling and I'm tossing and turning and thinking, could this happen? Could this really be an opportunity for me? You know, could I ever get a car like that? You know, could I replace my aging car for something? You know, women weren't getting cars in those days. Women weren't as powerful in the business world as they are today. So for me, it was a real dream, and not even really a possibility, but a little bit of a dream. So that was the beginning for me, and then so I did join. At that time, the kit was $75, which again was a lot of money, equivalent to well over $600 today.
Oh.
Yeah, because Nutrimoys was $6.50. So you know, if you multiply 75 by 7, that would bring you up to, or even nearly 8. That brings you up to at least $600. And I had no money, but I did have a small investment that I'd got from the sale of our family home, but I was determined never to break it, but I did for that, and it made me really worry that I'd never put that $75 back. So my biggest goal was, once I put that $75 back, no matter what happened then, and what I had this wonderful kit that I might be able to use myself and maybe get a few people to try as well. So that's kind of how it all began for me. It was really just a whim. I didn't really think I'd do very well, and I thought, well, you know, if I'd sell a few. So my very first party that I did was $25, and I thought that was all right. But I could tell by my upline, she didn't really think I was and then my next one was $80. But every time I sold anything, even if it was one item, I think, right, 20% of that, $1.20, I made $1.20. Well, you know, when you don't have any money, $1.20 is a lot of money, you know, and if you might keep multiplying that, it really works for you. But so I'm just looking to see what the next thing is that I've got here. Oh yes. So I really had to work hard on getting parties because I had not much confidence. So I had to really work on that. It wasn't something that came easily to me. But as I started off, my file of gold, we called it, was my best friend. Every single sale that I made, I noted that, and I would ring those people up 10 days later and check out how they were feeling about the product. I wouldn't try to sell them anything. I would just offer them, you know, I'm here for you if there's anything you need. Are you using it correctly? You know, have you started it even? Because some people buy products and then don't even start them. And so, you know, I get all this information. So what I was doing, and the most important thing that I think still today, is I was building relationships. And I think that's incredibly important. But, so, and then show planning, now I couldn't believe how much I loved it, but I was also terrified. Every time I went out, it was like I was going to my very first party, because I knew I had to stand up and produce for goods, and it was so important to me that it would work, that it was like, you know, will it be alright tonight? Am I a fraud? You know, what am I doing up there? You know, all the little chat that goes on your shoulder was going on in my mind every time I went out in those early days. And so it was just success really, selling products, making sales, making money, putting food on the table, that actually started to resonate with me that it was working. Because you see, one of the things for me was I was brought up in a time when we were taught that work is hard. You know, you're not meant to enjoy work. You're a hard working family, and you know, you go to work, but it's a chore. Well, you know, I was doing this thing that I loved, and it just somehow didn't seem right. So that was another thing I had to overcome, was that I was doing something that everybody was enjoying, but that I was enjoying just as much as they were, which was pretty exciting. So then I had to learn about sponsoring, because I wasn't very good at that. I was more keen on making money, and I was making money from my sales, and I couldn't see how sponsoring would help, because I thought, if I sponsor, I'm going to lose all my customers and then I won't have any money. So I had to overcome that one just by talking to more and more people. And of course the other thing was that I was so excited that people were drawn to me, and they started seeing, they wanted what I had. And I suppose that's a little bit of what happens to anybody when you're embarking on something you're excited about. So I started attracting a little team around me, and they were a good team. Everybody sort of followed my lead. I was out there working, so they got out there and worked as well. So in no time I actually was a director, and once you became a director, then you didn't necessarily get your company car. It was a bit like being an executive sales leader today. So what I did have an opportunity to do though was to go to seminar. So I attended my first seminar, and there I am, and the man who's actually giving me that award, is actually Mulford J. Knobs, who was the actual founder of Nutrimetics.
Is that you getting the award?
And that's me getting my very first, I got third in sales, which in New Zealand I couldn't believe it, because, you know, I didn't think I had done very well at all. And so, you know, and of course in those days when you got an award, you cried. It was just what you did, you know, everyone else did, so you did it as well.
I would today. I'll give you an award.
And as well as that, you're expected to say something, you know, so that was quite daunting as well. And then on my other side, that's Imelda Roche, who I showed you the picture before that. That's Imelda with me a year ago, and that is Louise Buchanan. You may have heard her name as well. Louise is the top person in the whole of Australasia in Nutrimetics, with the biggest team. So it's amazing. So that was me, and one of the things was I became very nervous at that seminar. I cried all the way just about there, because I was leaving my kids behind. We were going all the way to Hawaii, and I thought probably the plane had crashed. You know, here's someone who's never been outside the country, you know. So, I mean, you probably think, what a wimp, but in those days, that was, you know, it was a big thing. And I mean, I hadn't even been to Australia, for goodness sake, so what was I doing going all the way to Hawaii? So my sponsor, Barbara, she must have thought I was funny, because I followed her around like a little shadow the whole time I was there. And then, you know, but of course, since then I've attended so many seminars, and they become second nature to you, and you have an expectation after a while. So anyway, the next thing was I needed a car. How the heck was I going to get a car? I needed to because the thing was we were living with Mum, and so my first venture was to get out of there. So I bought this house in Stokes Valley. It was a $13,500, and that was the cheapest house on the market. And when the land agent took me through, he said, Mrs. Wagg, you're going to need a nose peg to go through here because there's been guinea pigs and dogs, and it's quite disgusting. And it was, but I thought, I could do something like this. So my mother said to me, Maureen, please don't buy this house. You know, how on earth would you and the children live here? Well, it took me 3 months to make it habitable. And I remember I had a lino man came in to, finally when I got the kitchen good enough to get some lino down, I had enough money to pay for it. And he said to me, oh, Mrs. Wagg, he said, it would take a brave couple to buy a house like this. And I said, oh no, I haven't got anybody helping me. And it's just me. And believe it, that because it really was a pigsty. But anyway, we turned it into a home, and I mean, it's about living in a place, isn't it? In the end, it's not how beautiful it is. And for me, it meant a lot to me because it was my very first opportunity to have something of my very own that I could say I'd earned. So once the house got semi-permanently all right, I thought it was time for me to put my effort back into Nutrimetics because it had slumped a bit in this time, as it does, you know, when personal things happen and suddenly your business isn't going as well as it could be. So I ended up earning this beautiful car. It was a 1974 Escort, and so I drove into the St George Hotel in my 1958 Morris Oxford and drove out in Cinderella style in my brand new Ford Escort. And there, look at us in our 70s gear, isn't that horrible? So that was me and Adrian, my daughter, and my son. Poor Jeffrey, look at the outfit he's wearing. And then Linda and the little one. But the car, you know, it was very special. We actually drove it into it was driven into the St George, and I had to drive it out. It was quite something. So I mean, and then when we got home, we just all sat at the bottom of the drive and kept turning things on and off because they worked, you know. Just amazing. So at that presentation, that's just another picture, and just to show you, go back. That's was my mum, and she was so proud of me that night. She just thought it was amazing. And there's Adrian, there's Steve looking less than interested, and that's Jeff, of course. And over there, the most gorgeous Barbara Powell that I was telling you about, my sponsor. And that was our manager, who was called Brian Long at the time. That's Linda there. So, and this young lady, she wasn't in my team, but she was 18, and she was the youngest person in Nutrimetics, or 17 actually, of the time, to actually become a district director. So, you know, people were working.
What's her name? Is she around now?
Alex, no, she's not. She's gone to other things, as people do. But that's my car now, which I absolutely love. I've driven 16 company cars, but this is my little Mini Cooper, and that's my number plate, which the kids gave me when I turned 17, and it means love life. So, you know, that was pretty special for me. So, you know, Nutrimetics, it's all history really now, because then I met my delightful partner, John Dobson. Well, not really, because that was 20 years into the business. I was on my own for all that time. And what I actually found was that not having a partner in my life gave me the opportunity to, who wasn't destructive, because, you know, some people are very destructive towards you, aren't they? And so not having a partner was good, because it gave me a chance to concentrate on getting my life together and getting some security for myself and the children. But then this man came along, and that was him actually before I knew him, and he owned a business called Gravy Train. So that's him dressed up in old style, you know, for that particular thing. And they had old railway carriages in the restaurant, etc. So that was him. But then that's us today, and that was at the recent conference, and getting an award, and with Linda Conestavo and Luis and Rod Sullivan, not Rod Sullivan, Rod Taylor, sorry. And here, so that's just a wee list of things that I've been fortunate enough to have. All those overseas seminars, all those company cars, elevated lots and lots of leaders, apart from my downline elevations, because you don't, it's a snowballing effect. You might sponsor someone, but then they sponsor someone, and that person might be really good, so they develop. And then all these $1 million years, this is my $1 million pin, which is one of my favourite things.
You can tell them about the pin.
The pin. So the pin's got, it's got 22 diamonds in it.
It's a map of the world, isn't it?
And it's a map of the world. Yes, and they try and put the diamonds where Nutrimetics has been, but in fact, that's not so much the case now, because it's in not as many areas as that anymore. But it's also got a wee bar that's got diamonds in it. So that's all to do with having done $1 million years. And some of the years that I've had have been fortunate enough to be 2 million and 3 million and even $5 million years. So that's not me, of course, that's all these beautiful downlines. So it's the power of owning a business that you're excited about and other people are drawn to. So I've had an amazing lifestyle, and it's not surprising that sometimes I even become quite emotional at the thought of what Nutrimetics has given me, because it's been a vehicle. You know, I think if you do well at something, it's usually because you love it, and for me, I certainly have. That's my Nutrimetics family tree, and it's quite complicated, but just to show you, there's Glenys there. So there's John and me at the top, and then all these branches are leaders who have elevated, who are there and elevated at the moment for my business. I've got a secretary, and she wasn't around, so you can see I had to write some in at the bottom because I couldn't get it to go. So anyway, there's Glenys, and there's Claire, and there's Hayley. And so it's a proper little tree there. And so, you know, and so, you know, you look at what, that's Kathy Delaney, who I met exactly when I met John, and look at her downline that's developed to there. So it's quite surprising. And Pauline Stock, who lives in Nelson, and then this is Maxine Curry, and Maxine's another estate of mine, and she's got all this development in her business. So it's interesting, because just from one person, it you know, it can move on. Now I want to introduce you to Claire Bell, who was a Nutrimetics princess at our conference and was recognised.